Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, it's good to be back in front of this camera. We're back on set for Lord knows how long it's been, but wanted to make this video because in my last string of videos that I put out a couple weeks ago, a guy by the name of Monk asked me to do a review of Naoya the Monster Inouye's first round, just devastating KO over Juan Carlos Payano. Now, that if you go on YouTube and you watch that fight, it's only one round. So there's not a whole lot to dissect. The introductions pretty much lasted longer than the fight itself. But I think the statement that Inoue made in that fight was a massive one, because when we talk about Payano, we're talking about a guy that is very experienced guy, very experienced fighter, former world champion, has defeated top fighters like Anselmo Moreno at the weight class. And I thought, I thought it was going to be like a real good stern test for Inoue because he's an experienced veteran fighter. He wasn't a guy that I thought was going to go in there and beat Inoue, but I thought it was going to be a good stern test. One where he could potentially go around and get quality rounds that they're going to help his ring experience. But I think in this fight, Inoue showed us that, and this is not a knock on Payano, but Inoue showed us that the Juan Carlos Payano level fighters, the solid veteran former world champion kind of fighters, are not going to cut the mustard against someone like Inoue, who is showing on a fight by fight basis that in terms of his skills, with his physical ability meeting up with the mental, that's what you call your prime. When your physical ability meets up with the mental, you're in your prime. And I feel like that's what's happening with Inoue. We're seeing his mental abilities, his ring IQ, his ring savvy, his ring smarts slowly begin to meet up with the physical part of him as a fighter, which is just going to be something special to watch. So, just quick assessment of the fight. It really isn't much to assess. The fight happened. You had Payano boxing out of the southpaw stance, Inoue in the orthodox stance. Inoue spent the majority of that round using his left hand as a rangefinder to see where he was at, see how he can get in. And then literally, I kid you not, the first two punches he lands of the fight, he puts Payano squarely on his rear end. So, I mean, to do that against a guy like Payano, we also got to understand, this is a guy in Payano who has never been knocked out, okay? Never been knocked out. It was the first time in his, 20-plus fight career that he's been stopped. And to be stopped so brutally by Naoya Inoue. And keep in mind, this is a guy on Payano who has been an Olympian multiple times. He was an Olympian in 2004. He was an Olympian in 2008. He's been a world champion. This is not just some run-of-the-mill top 10 guys, a filler fighter. This guy is a quality fighter. And Inoue went in there, and he was able to not just measure the right shot, but find the right shot and execute the right shots. There's a quick 1-2. Boom, he was out, and that was all she wrote. It takes a high caliber fighter to execute that, and that's what left me impressed about that performance from Inoue. So now he's moving on to the next round against Emmanuel Rodriguez, and to me, this is an interesting fight. I've seen people give their opinions on this fight, and boxing, and I've learned this too, being somebody who's been on YouTube for a couple of years now, is that in boxing, I think we all have this prisoner of the moment mentality when we look at fighters from a fight by fight basis. So a lot of times they say, well, you're only as good as your last fight, and a lot of times that's true in the eyes of boxing fans. So we're only going to judge them based on what our last images of them were. But I don't think that's always fair because, like the cliche says, styles make fights, and you don't always fight up or down to the level of your opposition. Things change on a fight by fight basis, and I've learned, for those of you who have been following me for any amount of time, you guys know that, I've been someone who's been very blessed and fortunate to spend a lot of time with Evander Holyfield, who's right up the street here at the Heavyweight Factory. And I remember earlier this year, I was at a fight here in March. There was a fight at the Hard Rock in March, ironically, which Payano was on. And I had a chance to sit with Evander at a table for a whole hour. I sat next to him for a whole hour. And this is around the time when Joseph Parker and Anthony Joshua were getting ready to fight. There was a lot of talk. Me and him talked a lot about that fight. And he rated Joseph Parker. He did rate Joseph Parker. much as I rated Joseph Parker. We thought he was a quality fighter, and he still is a quality fighter. But one guy said that Joseph Parker wasn't this good fighter. But what Evander Holyfield turned to that guy and said was, "Look, boxing isn't about being the best fighter every fight. Boxing is about, you know, just being that little much better than whoever you're put in front of. So you might fight really good against one guy and lose, but if you had that same performance as another guy, you'd win. So different fighters and different styles and different nights of different matchups, they're going to require different types of performances. So one fight you might need to fight, one fight you might need to box, one fight you might need to in-fight, out-fight, slug, brawl, whatever. But he was just trying to make the point that it doesn't matter how you win, it's just being that much better than your opponent. And I feel like I can apply that to the situation with Inoue versus Emmanuel Rodriguez. We have a guy in Inoue who, in pretty much his last 4 or 5 fights, he has looked sensational in each and every outing. You know, we've seen him stop guys like Payano. We've seen him knock guys going out backwards on check hooks. He has been nothing short of special in his last 5 fights, and he is exemplifying a top 5 pound for pound level type of skill set. And you gotta acknowledge that. But I don't think it's fair to look at Emmanuel Rodriguez's last fight because he fought Jason Maloney in the first round of this tournament. You know, he scored a decision victory over Maloney, and you know he dominated. He won the majority of the rounds, but he kind of faded as the fight went on and didn't look good. But I've always maintained the belief when this tournament first came out, I said the toughest matchup Inoue is going to have in this tournament is, if he fights him, will be Emmanuel Rodriguez. And the reason I believe that Emmanuel Rodriguez will be the toughest fighter he has this tournament is for a couple of reasons. I'll say this. I think Rodriguez, you know, with his Olympic experience, you know, if you were to go back and you were to go look at his just amateur background, I'm always big on that. You know, it's something I do take into account. You know, this is a guy that's had over almost 200 amateur fights. You know, he's been been a top level amateur in Puerto Rico, and he's not someone that you know, he's 26, but you know, in terms of up here, he's not 26. He's a much better fighter and a much smarter fighter and a much more mature fighter than his age would say. So with that being said, that's why I think he has a good chance in this fight, and the fact that he's a fantastic, classy boxer, the fact that you know, he's just going to be someone that I know can go out there and outpoint Inoue. You know, he's not the biggest puncher in the world, but I think he does have enough punching power to get Inoue's attention, and that's going to make this a tougher fight for Inoue. So I don't think it's fair to say that Inoue is going to go in there and swallow up Emmanuel Rodriguez. If you were to do that, then hey, fair play to him, more power to him, because Rodriguez is a classy fighter. But like, you know, he's not going to be massively bigger than Rodriguez. He's only got about 1 inch reach advantage. And yeah, I think it's going to be a fight where you guys are going to see what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying Emmanuel Rodriguez is going to go in there and win. I'm going to pick Inoue to beat Rodriguez. But what I'm saying is, you're going to see what I'm saying. No fighter looks good every fight. You know, Floyd Mayweather, a guy that people love to always prop up, he didn't even look good in all of his fights. He didn't look good against DeMarcus Corley. DeMarcus Corley was a run of the mill fighter. He had that fight against Corley. There's been fights like against Gennaro Hernandez or Zab Judah. He didn't look his best for the whole fight, but he found ways to be that much better than his opponent, and that's why he was able to be successful on a fight by fight basis. And that's what boxing fans got to understand. And I just feel like with Emmanuel Rodriguez, he's got the smarts, he's got the boxing ability, he's intelligent enough to go in there and take some rounds off Inoue early. And I think with Inoue, when you're a fighter like him and you've been dominating and you've been knocking dudes out left and right, when you hit somebody and they don't fall, or you fight someone who's maybe a little bit more tactically sound and can take some rounds off you early, that does something to you as a fighter. And I think that's what Emmanuel Rodriguez is capable of doing. And the way I see this fight going is I think Emmanuel Rodriguez is going to definitely take some rounds off Inoue early. But I think Inoue's punching power and athleticism is going to be the difference. And I see Inoue eventually getting a stoppage in the 8th or 9th round. But I think Rodriguez will give a good account of himself, and you guys will look at him in a better light, even in a loss. So Will it be his toughest test? I think this is the toughest test for him in the tournament. No disrespect to the likes of the other guys in the tournament, the Burnett's or the Tay-Tays or guys like that. But I just think when you look at the amateur experience, the boxing ability, what he's bringing to the table, I think that's where Rodriguez has a lot going for him, and that's why I might have an unpopular belief here. I think Inoue will win, but I just think this is the biggest test for him in the tournament. If he goes in there and he can dominate Rodriguez like he's been doing to a lot of his opponents, then I think that says more about Inoue than it does Rodriguez. So that's my take on the fight. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below about Inoue's performance against Juan Carlos Payano and his upcoming matchup with Rodriguez. Do you think Rodriguez has any chance, or will the monster just swallow up Rodriguez? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd like to hear from you guys. I've been out of commission for a little bit because I recently got a really hectic job not too far from where I live, and just haven't been around. I haven't even been around on the computer too much, so I haven't been able to really get in front of the camera like I want. But well, again, I know I've been saying this a lot recently, but I'm gonna really catch a rhythm here really soon. So please drop some videos you want me to see me make on subjects I may have missed or things that are happening right now, and I'll get to them as soon as possible. But yeah, leave your comments down below. Take the time to subscribe. And like I say in every single video, all right? You can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.